Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, coming to you before Game 5 of the Indiana Pacers and New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Pacers up 3-1, looking to close it out on the road as they have done before in these playoffs versus the Cavaliers. Knicks hoping to force us back to Indiana for a game 6, which would put a lot of pressure on the Indiana Pacers suddenly. It's weird how you can go from going up 3-1 to being under pressure so quickly, but that's what the Knicks will try and do tonight. We'll talk about sides, totals, props. We'll give you a market rundown with Michael Fiddle, the market maestro. We'll talk about a fascinating set of prop action from Gilles Gallant, all that and more on today's show. Make sure that you download the Action Network app. Best way for you to track your picks. You get up to second information where the bets and money are coming in on. You get all sorts of cool stuff in our pro subscriptions, which we'll talk about in a little bit with how to track various systems as well as stuff like where the sharp action is coming in versus the tickets and bets, so you know where the sharps are really moving these lines. Thanks for joining us at youtube.com/the Action Network. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you hear that on every video that you watch. We really I am begging you. Brandon gave you a 50-1. Reward Brandon by giving us a like and subscribe. Gilles Gallant's giving you tons of good props. Do that for the man. Help out Michael Fiddle. Hit the like and subscribe button. Do it. Do it for Gifford. Gifford's our producer, and he's a very nice guy.
Do it.
Do it for Gifford. All right, join me at Joe Gallant, GDog5000 on Twitter and the Action Network app, at Michael Fiddle at Fiddle's Picks. He hosts the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast, as well as a daily show on Twitter running down the market for both NBA and WNBA. By the way, off to a good start. No, I'm not gonna. Nope, I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm not gonna. Never mind. I'm not jinxing it. I'm not
Off to
jinxing
an
it.
efficient start.
I'm not jinxing it. I'm not jinxing it. So let's talk about this Knicks Pacers game. The Knicks are 4.5 point favorites tonight at home in Game 5. This opened in the market at 4.5, and we've seen at 5.5. We've seen some movement in on the Pacers early. Talk to me about the side and where the market has moved on this game, Fiddle.
Yeah, so we're watching action all over the board right now. There was just a move down on the Knicks money line from 184 down to 178. There seems to have been a bit of a fight around the minus 180 number. I was gonna come in and give a Knicks minus 170 or better as my best bet but for me at this point, like, value is kind of priced out, and this market has really hinged on Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, the loudest thing that we obviously have to talk about is a second team all NBA player got injured in the fourth quarter, and we don't really know what has happened since then, and we haven't had much information. So it seems like he's going to play. He's mainly priced in. We're just getting word of game time decision. And there's this fight about at the number minus 180 on the money line. I don't think the number's going to move on the spread between 4.5. I think that's pretty much where we're going to stay. It's just going to be maybe some vig changes there and mainly a money line shift. That would probably be the angle that I would try and get in front of. If you think Towns is going to play, this line should climb to minus 190 as the consensus, and then grabbing, the minus 175 that's left in the market right now would probably be a good idea. So you're probably getting an initial Knicks, a late Knicks run after an initial Pacers, but really all of that and all of the market for the spread for this game has hinged on Towns. The interesting news, Matt, is the total has been pretty much unaffected, like from open to close. And you would think Towns is a major player in affecting a total either way, and it really hasn't budged. I mean, there's really been subtle movements, maybe half points, maybe 1 point, but we're back pretty much where we're started. And so I think we've just said, okay, we're at Game 5. There's been some sharp money towards the under, especially in Game 4, that brought it down to like 219, and then the game went over. So now we're going to see it settle in at like 222, 222 and a half. And I think that's just perfectly where it is, which is why it's been hard for me to find a bet.
All right, let's talk Towns for a second. Okay. Not a doctor, much like the credit sequence to many of my favorite shows. Not a doctor. However, having been around the game a long time and talked to people close to organizations, not the Knicks, I don't have any sort of inside information, but I will tell you this is my read on it. Cat knocked knees, right? Like he bumped knees, both players went down. That's contact injury. If there was something wrong after that, we would know because he would have fractured his tibia and be out. That's it. Like he would have fractured his kneecap and been done. That would the X-ray would have come back. You would have gotten a Shams report that night. He would not have returned to the game. That's it. They did an X-ray first. They would have done an MRI the next day to be precautionary. Okay. Is it possible that that's wrong and that he doesn't play? Sure. It could also be so deep a bruise that he's not able to play. Sure. I will tell you, I would be on a scale of 1 to 5, a 4 if he does not play. In my experience, what this is anytime that you have an opportunity to list a player as questionable, you do it. If you can reasonably do it, because the NBA does pay attention to this stuff, you can't just like pop up a random player. Then you'll get a call from certain individuals inside the NBA who you do not want to get phone calls from, because I've gotten calls from those individuals and it's not a pleasant experience. But if a guy legitimately suffers an injury and legitimately you could see it on the court, you always just list him questionable because it makes the other team like you just want to create any sort of like, well, if this happens, then we'll do this, and if not, then we'll do this, which is stupid, by the way, because the Pacers like do not care. They're just like, all right, if he plays, great. If he doesn't, we'll play how we play when he doesn't play. We know the scouting report when he's not on the floor. Don't understand it, but this is how they operate. So like Gilles, I am not concerned at all about Karl-Anthony Towns not playing. Does that all track? Is that convincing to you?
Well, I'm not really as concerned about him playing, but he's already been, I mean, the nice way of putting it is a defensive liability. And
Hmm.
now, if he's got a bum knee where he's still lugging it out, is he even more compromised now defensively? And that's been something that's been ongoing in this series with or without the injury because the Pacers, we talked about this off air about how I felt like what I was seeing in Pacers Knicks was very reminiscent, like the way the Pacers and their pace of play and just the way that they're turning the Knicks over. It was almost like Thunder or Diet Thunder, like or Thunder Light, you know? And then when I actually went back and looked through, the turnovers and fast break points, it checks out because through 4 games, the Pacers have scored 111 points off of turnovers and fast break, while the Knicks are only at 56. So I think if we don't see some kind of turnaround on that front, especially with the Knicks and the defensive team with Tibbs, like we're not seeing it defensively here, and we're not seeing it, being flipped on the Pacers front there. Even in game 2, or game 3 rather, the Knicks that when they won, they were outscored 26-10 on that front. So it's been a lot of hero ball for the Knicks at this point, and I'm really not sure if they're going to be able to replicate that here in game 5.
73% of the tickets are on the Pacers. 60% of the money is on the Pacers. We're tracking sharp action in our Pro Tools on the New York Knicks here. Fiddle, I'll ask you this. If the word comes down, Karl-Anthony Towns will play, do you think there will be another move towards Knicks again?
Yes, but I'd say it's like use probabilistic modeling is the term for like how likely is Towns to play to how much of the ratio of his value is into the spread right now. I would say it's 85%, so 90% yes. So yeah, maybe a 10, 15 cent move, maybe a soft 5 shows up, -5, -105. And to me, like those would still be worth getting in front of in a late market. Like being directionally correct and half a point, or like you call it, maybe half a point, but a slightly reduced VIG. I still think that's long-term profitable. Directionally correct and slightly ahead of the line.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and bet the Knicks -4, which they are at 1 book right now on the full game. Even though Gilles Gallant hates this because I'm also on Pacers first half, which we'll talk about a little bit later on.
Yes.
But look, Gilles, anytime I've got an opportunity to bet both teams and be wrong twice, I have to take it. Talk
Keep
to me
going.
about the prop market, Fiddle, and you got a prop that you've singled out that's got a lot of value on it.
Yeah, let's go through some props for this game. Like pretty staggering that there was not much moves in the prop market for this game either. So I was looking through it and I was like, the Brunson props have really moved like all of 3 cents from open to close. And I was okay, I'll look through the rest of them. The one that I found that was pretty good, and I didn't really understand it. So maybe you could explain some basketball angles and nuance it out, why it is like this. But the way that Tyrese Halliburton, and yes, I'm taking a Hallie over, the way that his blocks is priced. Remember the other day when I said Caruso has a weirdly priced number towards the over, and I didn't understand it at all. Do you remember when I said that? Sorry if I'm going off track.
Yep.
That was the game where he all of a sudden started the second half in the series against the Timberwolves, and that was the change. And then that was in the pregame props, his numbers were really escalated. I was like, what? And then it happened to be the game that he gets put in and starts the second half, and I was like, okay, there it is. For this one, the Halliburton blocks are like awkwardly shaded in similar directions, where it's like minus 140 towards the over at certain books, and I'd say even sharper books. And then you could see anywhere where there's there's a few places where it's plus money. And I said, okay, I'm taking Halliburton blocks over one plus blocks.
Okay. Okay. I mean, look, as a market reader, I can't blame you. Halliburton, I would love it a lot more on steals and blocks. I don't have any sort of basketball reasons to back up the idea, although that Halliburton is he's a lot longer than I think people realize, and also um he's been surprisingly pretty stout defensively. Like, one of the things that's been interesting in these games is that the Knicks have tried attacking Halliburton with Brunson, and Halliburton's tried attacking Brunson, and one of those is working, and the other is not. And so I think it's a good question. The only concern you might be is like foul trouble if that were to go this way tonight, because that definitely seems like it's a possibility. Just based off of a game script that you can pretty easily come up with here, but I don't have any issue. I will defer to Gilles Gallant, who is an excellent prop better. What are your thoughts on Hallie blocks tonight?
Well, it's interesting because I went to go look to see what his contested shot rate is, like just along the perimeter, and there's not really a lot to take away from it. And then, of course, he hasn't gotten a block yet in the series, but you're seeing around like plus 140, plus 145 to the over for that right now. It's difficult because in theory, he should have probably already had a block already in this series. So that in theory, you're already getting a little bit of value, because if he had a block already in this series, we'd probably see lower odds, probably closer to plus 110, plus 115. So there is like, again, like 20 cents in value probably of what you're looking at right there. But I think the main thing that I would just take away with it is that it's, if you think that it's going to happen, you're getting a decent price. I just not sure if it's going to happen, just because, again, we've seen it through 4 games where, he hasn't really had to really contest too many shots so far in this series, because they're not really making them. They're just letting them shoot sometimes.
I understand that. At the same time, after Fiddle snaked me on the money line and not the spread the other night, I'm pretty much willing to follow his market direction.
Yeah, Hallie's getting a first quarter block. This is outwardly arbable right now. There's a plus 132 and a minus 125, plus 132 towards the over, minus 125 towards the under. Like, you could just play both and automatically make money. But the way that I'm reading the market, I think the over has the better value. So I'm just one direction playing this.
Okay. Let's talk about Underdog. Underdog is one of the best places to make picks during playoff basketball. While they score buckets, you could score cash. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play right now in your state. The app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, blocks, first quarter rebounds, and so much more. Once your picks feel good, you can play for as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. We have a dog in him lineup tonight. That's rebounds, steals, and blocks. We are going with a Knicks positive lineup tonight. Karl-Anthony Towns battling through the injury. Like a fierce warrior. Higher than 11.5 rebounds. He's been a monster. Like, he's just been a monster on the boards. It's just been some other guys, Josh Hart, have not been, but Karl-Anthony Towns has brought it on the glass. I know the knee is a concern, but we're probably getting a little bit of value here with that perception. I like the higher than 11.5 rebounds. We're also going Mitchell Robinson 5.5 higher. If this script is what I think it's going to be, I like Mitchell Robinson to go higher as well. Both of them go higher on their rebound props. Turner lower 5.5 rebounds. Here's one in losses. They have to lose the game, and Joe will look at me funny later about it. In losses, Mitchell Robinson averages 3.3 rebounds. So if the other guys are going to get a lot of boards, Mitch Rob and Cat, well, then probably we're seeing lower on Miles Turner and higher on Tyrese Halliburton, 1.5 first quarter rebounds. Hallie averages 2.1 in the playoffs overall in the first quarter. 2.1 versus a 1.5. Higher. So we just need Hallie to smack to block Jalen Brunson and then catch the ball
It's
and
exactly
then do
what's
it
going to
again.
happen.
And we got it. And we're good.
Pretty
Download
easy.
the Underdog app and sign up with promo code Buckets100 to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code Buckets100. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Let's do some best bets for what might be the final game of the conference playoffs in the 2025 NBA playoffs. We'll go around the horn and we will start with Gilles Gallant. Gilles, what do you like tonight?
Yeah, I like two props on the Knicks side rather. So Josh Hart over 13 and a half rebounds and assists. And I love the correlation with this other prop, which is one that I gave out on the show last time. Jalen Brunson over 2.5 3-pointers at plus 105. So I think there's going to be a little bounce back spot for both of them.
Can't wait to hear you talk about this one. Just can't. After that hook the other night, just skewered my soul. Michael Fiddle, you have no plays tonight. Can you give a brief rundown of just how you view the market right now?
I did play a small quarter unit on what the Hallie block party plus 132.
I like that. I've got Pacers first half on the money line and spread. I've got Jalen Brunson over 2.5 turnovers. You can catch more of the things I like tonight in the Action Network app on my article. And as a late addition, I did take the New York Knicks -4 full game. Let's talk about. All right, let's start with the Josh Hart thing. Gilles, it's been a rough road for Josh Hart, but you think this is a buy low opportunity?
I do, and mainly just because of looking at how the market has evolved and matured throughout this series, because it does reflect whether he was on the bench or whether he was starting. So let's just start before the series started. It was an over-under line of 14 and a half. He clears it with ease. It reopens a game two at 14 and a half, but there's steam to the over, but it falls way short. Then they reopened it at 14 and a half in game three, finishes just a shade under at 14 rebounds and assists. Game four was what was interesting because it opened at 14 and a half. By game time, it was 13 and a half with some steam to the over. So clearly the market was showing they were taking the under on the 14 and a half. The under did hit easily in game four. But in game five, I think this is a chance for him to bounce back because I think there was a lot of stuff that came out of game four that was actually encouraging. Like for the series in general, he averages 17 and a half rebound chances per game. That's second on the team behind Karl-Anthony Towns. And then also 8 potential assists per game. A lot of people will look at game four and only 4 potential assists, but that's probably why the line moved down. But again, he had the second most passes in the game behind Jalen Brunson, or at least on the Knicks rather. And he has the second most passes for the Knicks. And he's not really a ball hog. He's clearly going to be looking for others to score. So I really think those potential assists are going to climb back up. And I think as well with these rotations, whether Mitch Robinson starts or not, I don't think it's really going to matter because it's pretty predictable. He's coming in at the 6-minute mark. He's going to play the entire first half. Same thing at the start of the third quarter. If this is going to be a closer game as well, where the Pacers don't shoot over 70% from the floor in the first quarter, maybe we can get some of those rebounds. And then another reason why I was taking the rebounds and assists prop is because a lot of how I approach PRA props, I have to see that there's potential that the player can go over this mark with just one category. And Josh Hart does fit that. And then now we're getting a little bit of buyback on that 13 and a half. So I think this is the spot where we now go back to Josh Hart and start to reinvest in him filling up the box score. So Josh Hart, I think we'll be able to convert some of those passes. Some of those threes will go in for maybe some of those tertiary players. We also know that like when Brunson or Towns leaves the game, he's going to be in the game as well. So I think Josh Hart, if the Knicks are going to win and prolong this series, Josh Hart has to have a huge game.
I can't argue with this just because any other coach would probably be like, yeah, this is probably not a series for Josh, but Tibbs doesn't think in those terms.
Too stubborn. Yeah.
Too
And
stubborn.
I think that's the reason why if if I was working with like a coach like outside of Thibodeau who isn't so reliant on somebody like Josh Hart, who's kind of been the heart of this team over the last 3 years, I think in a game like this, 40 minutes is very easily doable, whereas the basement I think is going to be 36 minutes.
Yep. I dread this, but I will tell you because you are very good at these things where I'm like, I hate this, and then it's like, oh, Gilles won again. So
Well, it's a kind of a conflict with the underdog
for
because
sure.
if we're looking at all these rebounds with Towns and Robinson, then obviously those rebounds dry up. I still think that there's plenty to go around. It's just more of the fact that I know that Hart's going to be on the floor. If Towns has to leave the floor or Brunson has to leave the floor, Hart has been the most consistent that plays when one of those two guys leaves the game. So I think Josh Hart is going to be that beneficiary on the rebounding side. But also, I think there's just higher upside for his assist mark of the 4.5 line of where it's at, where I think those could easily combine and we get to 14.
I'm on Pacers first half here on the spread and the money line plus 3.5, and then on the money line as well. The Pacers are 10-4 against the spread in the first half in these NBA playoffs. They are 5-2 on the road. It has not been affected by road environments. I actually think they've played a little bit better in road environments, especially in these first halves. So much of this is just like they get off to really hot starts. They just do. They find their rhythm early, and we've seen them get out to those leads. And I think it's difficult for the Knicks to be able to kind of adjust. They're having to make these halftime adjustments and really come out and hit the Pacers when they lull in the third and fourth quarter. I do think that's possible here. That game script makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to take the Pacers on the first half here, money line and spread in this one. Brunson over 2.5 turnovers is just basically. I saw a lot of digging. They've gotten a lot more comfortable at digging down on him, especially on drives. They are less concerned with Jalen's passing than they have, I think, been at any point in the series, where they are kind of realizing that Jalen just wants, if you pick him up early and dig on him, he's just going to get tunnel vision and try and make a tough bucket. He is not recognizing how he can reverse the floor. Like Halliburton's the exact opposite, where it's like if you dig on Halliburton, Halliburton's like, great, that means my guys on the other side are open. Cool. And he'll make that pass. Jalen, I think, in part because of his size, is a lot more hesitant to do that. He's over this in three straight, and they figured out how to crowd him. And here's another small thing. Even his foul drawing runs the risk of charges. So even if he tries to go that route, there's a possibility there as well. So over 2.5 turnovers for Jalen Brunson. Gilles, let's go back to you and we'll talk about another Brunson prop, which is the torturous Jalen Brunson over 2.5 3-pointers.
All right. I feel like we have to give some context to anybody who didn't listen to Monday's show because I gave out Jalen Brunson over 2.5 3-pointers at around plus 120, and then Andrew Nemhard over 1.5 3-pointers around plus 150. Anyway, fast forward to halftime because what my handicap was is that he's not going to get in, Brunson is not going to get in foul trouble again, and he's going to put up a lot more 3-point shots. Well, in the first half, I was 100% right. He did not get into foul trouble. He had 6 3-point attempts. He hit 2 of them. Nemhard had 1. At halftime, I cracked a drink. I felt good. I was like, wow, this second half is going to be amazing. Well, at halftime, Brunson's 2 for 5 from 3-point. He finishes 2 for 6, only takes one more attempt the rest of the game. Nemhard doesn't even try. So, really, I'm going to take the bait. I will fall on this grenade again. But what I thought the Pacers did really in the second half was they made some defensive adjustments that really actually incentivized Brunson to drive the rim, like picking him up full court or Neesmith slipping through those screens. I think they're going to look through some tape and try to get a better job on screening Neesmith and freeing him up on the perimeter like they saw in the first quarter. And I think just, returning home, I think we're going to see 10 or more 3-point attempts tonight from Jalen Brunson. If that's the case, I feel good about the hitting 3 or more.
I'm in. I will follow you, Captain, my captain. I'm with you. We will go down. We will go down together on this one. No, I'm sure that it'll hit and it'll be great, and that's what I want to have happen. Okay, Fiddle, I want to come back to you for a second. Can we talk a little about the theoretical lines that are up for the NBA Finals and how to bet those based on the results tonight?
Yes. Oh, that's a great topic. There are lines up right now that show Pacers +9 against Oklahoma City Thunder in game one. Now, if the Pacers win tonight, I would probably go ahead and take Pacers +9 because the reason why that theoretical line is up, and theoretical lines, dude, are not, that's not considered the opening line, right? So like when this market actually opens, that's what we're going to consider as opens. You can't really use theoreticals because there are certain variables like I'm about to explain. The Knicks are likely to win tonight, right? They're like close to a 2-1 favorite, right? -190 at sharp books, which is why I like the -175 or better. So if the Knicks win tonight, then the Pacers have to fly back to Indy, play another game, potentially go 7, and then there's so much that builds on top of it that makes the game 1 spot against Oklahoma City Thunder harder. So if you're a thinker of, oh, this series might actually go 7, then OKC -9 would be the side to be on. But if the Pacers actually win tonight and they don't pull that line down, because they might quickly readjust it and just put it into like in the middle of the fourth quarter, they might start to throw up a game 1 finals line if Pacers are crushing tonight, and that's what they'll go ahead and do. But it won't be 9. That's kind of where I'm at. Like it's not gonna. My model has it at 7.6. And so OKC at home, right? And so I think there's been a little bit of an overreaction to the absolute smackdown clincher that OKC just had. You had the theoretical series markets, which had OKC -575 to the Pacers +450, and now it's OKC -750. And the Pacers haven't played a single game. The only thing that happened in that change was OKC's win over Minnesota last night. So if Pacers win tonight, or they're clearly on track to win, and you could still grab that +9, I would, because they'll have the rest. They won't have to travel. It will make that spot better for them.
So I've got it -7, but I'm using a little bit of a lighter home court advantage than the books have been using. So I'm not going to be surprised if this does pop up at 9, but also like it does seem heavy to me. 8.5, 8 might be like the compromise there, and even then you're still getting a point of value on it. So I can't really argue on from that perspective. This is the hard part, and we're going to talk about this in the finals preview. If the Pacers advance, Brandon and I kind of talked about in the post-game show last night that the market is such that we're only going to look towards OKC. Let me rephrase that. The basketball side is such that we're only going to look towards OKC. The market is going to say to look for Pacers. And those cross things are going to make it very difficult for us to find value. But this is like, so like, here's a good example is like, I think the Thunder are likely to smash in this series. I have it very heavily favored for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And yet I am about 80% sure I'm going to be on the Pacers in game 1. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. Can't wait for this to play out as well. We do have a parlay for you tonight as well. I want to hit on that. So we're going to take the Hallie spot, the Hallie smack. One over 0.5 blocks. We're going to take over 2.5 Brunson threes. And we're going to take the Knicks -4.5. Gilles, I understand I'm on the Pacers. Pacers have been great in the first half here. These trends I cannot stop thinking about. Here's the idea. Teams up 3-1 on the road in the conference finals, just all time, since 2003 at least. You're up 3-1 in the conference finals. 9-18 straight up. 9-18 up 3-1 on the road in the conference finals. Teams up 3-1 on the road overall are 14-38 straight up, 21-31 against the spread. Road dogs, this is the killer. Road dogs in this spot are 12-32, 27.3% straight up, 19-25 ATS. When you go to the conference finals, it's obviously a smaller sample, but they're 3-6 straight up in ATS. Teams off of a game 4 win. Teams off of a game 4 win who are on the road for game 5, 11-36, 18-29 against the spread. Overall, let's take a big step backwards. Okay, road teams game 5 conference finals. Just like how do road teams do in the conference finals in game 5? Because the other teams had a better record, right? That's why they got home court. 12 and 25 straight up, 15 and 22 against the spread. And finally, teams with a chance to advance 3 series wins who are more than 4-point dogs, and this market is around 4 right now. 30 and 86, 47 and 68, and 41% against the spread. Like, essentially, Gilles, my argument is the market directionally has gotten this right. That they have bent towards that the team that they have bent as a favorite historically in the conference finals, even down 3-1, has been directionally correct. And if it's directionally correct, by Matt Mitchell rule, we should lay the 4.5.
Sure. Yeah. It's such
Gilles?
a trend boner of a thing, like where you listed probably like 10 of trends where what am I going to say? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's clearly, lots of data to support it.
But you can come back at me here. Like this is buckets. I do not have shame, Gilles Gallant. So you can come back at me with simply the trends do not matter here. This Pacers team has been better than the Knicks.
Well, I don't want to be dismissive. Like I think I would just say, like, I still think that there's value in trends. It's just what I have seen through 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just been so difficult to wrap your head around how the Knicks can do this. Like when I was just even talking about turnovers and fast break points, like I don't know what card Tibbs has left to play to neutralize that.
Yep.
That's what makes me just very concerned about wanting, like, so when you initially were discussing why you like the Pacers tonight and just in that spot, or even like Fiddle talking about it from a market standpoint, yes, those all make sense. But just eye test alone, it is very difficult to feel good wanting to bet a Knicks team unless you're obviously maybe a Knicks fan.
I have one more addition here.
All right.
If the Pacers win tonight, that means that I got a future right over Brandon Anderson because I took Pacers -1.5, -2.5. He took Pacers in 6 or 7. Which side do you want in on, Gilles?
I mean, the dude just cashed a 50-1 yesterday, right? Like, I mean, just the data, you just have to look at his ROI long term and year round. Like, it's insane how awesome Brandon is at these. So,
yeah. So over 0.5, Halliburton blocks, Knicks -4.5, over 2.5, Brunson 3-pointers, bing bong. That's plus 575 in the market. You can catch that along with all of our picks we've given out are in the episode description. Just go down there and click on the quick slips and they'll take you right to those bets in the market right now. That's going to do it for pregame for Pacers Knicks game 5 pregame. We'll be back after the game to recap. We'll talk about either game 6 and what that means and how that's looking, or we'll start talking about the NBA finals being finalized and what those markets look like. Lots more content to come here for you. Programming note, no buckets tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern as there are no games left in the... Well, I'm sorry. There will be one tomorrow if the Knicks win tonight. There'll be one tomorrow at 2:30. There will be no pregame show tomorrow night because there is no game. Thanks for joining us. You can follow Michael Fiddle at Fiddle's Picks, at Gilles Gallant, at GDog5000. My thanks to Giver Gould, our excellent producer. We'll see you guys again next time. Until then, let's get buckets.